So in the process of getting my air intake off, I ended up, unplugging, and then with unplugging, I was like, might as well just take out this cold start injector. Now I've been having pretty slow starts sometimes on the car, and looking at the condition of this, I think I see why. So in another video, I might spend some time cleaning that up and um, you know maybe even hopefully seeing if I can get it to spray a little more. Like I literally see gunk inside of that hole, which I'm guessing is where fuel is supposed to come out when you're trying to start the car. So yeah, I'll see what I can do as far as cleaning this up. That might be another video coming up. All right, I'm gonna share a little bit about how this works. So this is the cold start injector. At the end of the day, it is very similar to any other injector. I've seen that 7Ms the cold start injector can be like this one. I've also seen where they're shorter, and I've also seen where they have a flare at the top. Mark 3 Supra parts says to make sure you have the correct style cold start injector for your car, but the turbos I've seen all have this particular cold start injector where it's long and no flare. So but this really works like any other injector. You just have a solenoid here. When the solenoid is energized, it opens the valve in here and you hook up pressurized fuel, and then it should spray out this side right here. Okay, and basically what it'll do is when the engine senses that it's cold, and it's going to sense it's cold through this switch, which I'll get into in a sec. But when the engine senses that it's cold, it's going to give an extra spurt of fuel so that so that it hopefully starts the car quicker and starts it on the first crank. Yeah, I don't know if there may even be, like, if the engine is warmer, if there's still some thing that the cold start injector does. I don't know if it's only on, like, cold starts, as in temperature cold starts. Yeah, I don't know. But that, from what I understand, though, that is effectively how it works. And the injector being right in here, it basically just pushes it, or it basically just shoots that fuel into this air intake, and then that flows down into the cylinders. So that's kind of how the system works. Now, when I pulled out my cold start injector, you saw this thing was covered in black. I mean, it was just covered in crud. It wasn't doing anything. The other thing, though, and I'm kind of wondering if this might have been the initial cause of the issue. The other thing was I tested this guy, okay? Now, you'll see if the coolant is below 60 degrees, basically, Fahrenheit, the resistance should be 25 to 50, and it's above 86, the resistance should be 60 to 85. I was testing it when it's probably like no warmer than maybe 51 or 52 degrees in here. It's not super warm. But I used my multimeter and measured the resistance across these two pins, and I was getting 75 ohms, which is what it's supposed to be if it's above that temperature. So I kind of actually wonder if there's something. I've replaced this, and that it didn't hurt it didn't hurt it. My next test involved both of these being hooked up. If I had thought ahead, maybe I would have gotten the cold start injector fixed and tried it with the defective switch and see if what that does. I don't know, but yeah, I ended up switching them, and when I cleaned this, and because this is not the one that was in the car, the one that's in the car I managed to get working and put it in. This is an extra. And then I replaced this with one that I had confirmed working. It came from my extra engine. Extra engine again for the win. But I don't know actually if maybe this switch does work and the other cold start injector, and just needed to clean the cold start injector. I don't know. I actually do wonder though, if maybe this failed and then that led to the cold start injector getting covered in crud. I wonder that because, when, like, I mean, I don't know, like, it all should be cleaned anyways. So I wouldn't think that that it would necessarily cause, or that the injector not firing would cause it to get covered in crud. But I do kind of wonder if that did happen. The guy who sold me the car, this shows you what he didn't know because he ended up being incorrect. The guy who sold me the car told me that the car had slow starts because the fuel, or the pump doesn't prime, or doesn't, the pump doesn't run unless the engine is cranking, which is true. But it was like every single time I started the car, it was like it was needing to prime itself again or something. But yeah, again, when I cleaned this and then replaced this, it started right up. So it was definitely something to do with this cold start system. But yeah, I almost wonder if, like, when he was working on the fuel system, because he did work on the fuel system at one point, if for some reason that this injector ended up getting dirty because of something. I don't know why. It's all intake, so intake should be relatively clean because of the filter, and it's not like you're running fuel in it besides what's coming out of this. Like, but I don't know. Just things to think about. If you guys have any ideas, maybe throw them in a comment. And in case anybody was needing to know, right here is the cold start injector time switch. All right, that's what I replaced. Just need a, actually, I used a large socket. Let me see what size it was. It was a 24 millimeter socket is what I used. The manual says to use like, a special type of socket that is gonna like protect the sensor in here. Totally unnecessary. Regular socket, as long as you're careful, should be fine. All right, first thing I'm gonna do, I'll get to this in a sec, but first thing I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna wipe this off and spray it with a carb cleaner. So now I have my cold start injector here, and you can see it has some wires coming out of it. I'm going to hook it up to the battery, and then it is attached through this hose to this guy here. And this thing has compressed air going to it, and it's currently leaking it because there's a lot of compressed air going to it. I'm letting the regulator drain it for a little bit here. Although I think it's probably fine at this point, looking at it. Yeah, I think it's probably all right. But inside is seafoam, okay? So I think, from what I can tell, any fuel injector type cleaner should work. I just used seafoam because that's what I had around. And so I'm going to open this valve and then connect the battery terminals to open the valve on here, and with any luck, if there's any gunk in there still, it'll come out. Also, I did have it soaked in seafoam for a little bit as well, so but it still doesn't look that great. guys, so I have I'm testing out my cold start injector here. I've plugged it in and I jumpered the wires on the diagnosis port. Turn the car to on. You're gonna see what happens as I see it. I have not tested this yet, so let's see. Unfortunately, there is nothing coming out. So that's gonna have to be something rectified at some point here. All right, so I'm gonna give an update on that cold start injector. So I was clicking it on the battery with the gas line hooked up and nothing was coming out. I turned off the camera and, kind of was like, well, that's a bummer, and clicked it a few more times, and then all of a sudden gas started shooting out of it. So it fixed itself. All it needed was I needed to clean it off with the carb cleaner and then, run fuel through it a few times. I probably mentioned before that I have really slow starts on this car, and that appears to have fixed the slow start. I actually just turned it on; it fired right up immediately. So that's pretty awesome. I like that. Yeah, it seems like a pretty good success. So, yeah, I actually was planning on seeing if I could take the cold start injector apart and do a rebuild on it. I actually got a second cold start injector for that purpose. And that cold start injector does work. Well, I was going to put the working one in there, and then I was going to take the other one apart and clean it up and everything. If there is some value there, I'd be open to considering it. Like considering taking the extra cold start injector I have apart. I am probably going to try and sell it, see if there's another Mark III Supra owner that needs a cold start injector. I mean, if I needed one, someone else may. Yeah, so, but yeah, if there's interest in, me taking that apart, let me know and I can do that. All right, thanks guys. See you in the next one.